Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome back to Four Men and a Mic. We hope you are all very well. Good evening to you all in the live chat. There's a good few of you in there already. Good evening to you all. We hope you're all well. Hope you're not too nervous about tonight's game. The last time I was this nervous, I think I was getting married. And just as before we come on there, I'm a bit shook. Just before we came on there, I was told by my daughter, my 11-year-old daughter, that I've got an 8 head. And when I asked her what that meant, she proceeded to count how high my head was in fingers. So I have an 8 head. She can fit 8 fingers up my head. So, yeah, I have an 8 head. So, I don't know what to say about that, really. I'm going to have to go a good hard think about that, what the punishment might be for her. Anyway, Dan, how are you, sir?
Well, my head goes back to my bum crack, so I don't know how many fingers that is.
72 head.
Actually, there's more hair on my back. It's probably stopped somewhere down near the middle of my shoulders.
Nice. Yeah, well, yeah, I could probably take some off my shoulders, actually, and put it back on the front. Chris, how are you, sir? Yeah.
That's all I've got. Yeah. I'm literally, look, this is what's happened to me.
A bottle of rum. Yeah, I tell you what, mate, if I had one of them, mine would be out as well.
Oh, dear.
It would absolutely be out if I was here as well. James, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you, mate. Just trying to put today to the back of my mind, really. But what, we're less than 2 hours away from kickoff. It's it's here. I'm not ready for it.
No, James, people are saying this is the biggest game of the season, right? But I'm struggling to. I'm kind of struggling to. You can correct me if you like, but I'm struggling to understand why. I think we've got 3 more games to play before the biggest game of the season. Before, if you ask me, the biggest game of the season will surely be the final. I don't see how tonight defies being the biggest game of the season. If that makes any logical sense.
Yeah, I just think in terms of where we are now, in games that we've actually got on paper in front of us. I can't see it as being a bigger one. Obviously, if we win this one, then you're looking at the Europa League finals being the biggest one. But even then, we've got a tough semi-final if we get past tonight. But I'm not looking any further than beyond the 90 minutes that we've got in front of us tonight, because I thought last week, when we got that goal, we went 1-0 up. I thought I really didn't expect to throw it in the way that we did. But we did a classic Arsenal, and we're in the situation that we are now. So tonight's absolutely imperative. Like our season is riding on it.
Oh, absolutely. Dan, is the season rides on the Europa League? Obviously, Europa League or bust for you?
Don't care about Europa League. I don't think we're gonna. I don't care if we win it. I don't care if we get to the final. I don't think we're good enough to beat anybody in the final. I'd be more. I'd rather. I've always said I'd rather go out in the semi-final or the quarter-final than lose in a final, because over the years we've lost in so many finals. Yeah, we lost in so many finals. I just hate it. So rather get knocked out. But they're on a decent run of form. I just had to look. Slavia Prague, they've lost 1 in their last 23 games. Now it's 4-0 away to Bayer Leverkusen, and so they're definitely going to be full of confidence and going out there. But our players have got more than enough to beat them.
Yeah, they do. Certainly, certainly, Chris. We do have enough to beat them. I think the last time they conceded more than 2 goals at home was in August 2016, which would make us happy to hear. Lovely stat.
Yeah, but they have been playing against, farmers, unarmed elves, an entire harem of dwarves, and probably the cast of one of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. It's not like they play top teams every single week, is it? It's not like they're up against Man United one week or Barcelona the other week. Where they've been defeated has been in the European ties. And let's be honest now. So I'll be honest with you. I'm terrified. That's why I've driven myself to drink in the afternoon. Literally, whilst I was still working, I was pouring myself a rum because I've been thinking about this all day. Yeah, right. I've been thinking about this all day. I've been working, tapping away at my laptop, and then suddenly I'll just remember that we've got a game on tonight. And it terrifies me. And what terrifies me more than anything else is, I don't know, this is a good and a bad thing, because it's like you feel like you're alive. I actually feel like I'm alive because there's something riding on this game. Whereas for so much of this season, let's be honest, in September, October, November, and December, the league has been pretty much done. And the Europa League has been a load of Mickey Mouse games that you're just thinking, oh, well, it doesn't matter now until we get to the latter stages, so I don't need to worry about it. And then the FA Cup, we got dumped out of that pretty early. The League Cup is just this sort of nice thing to watch the kids in or the reserves in. So this is the first time this season where I've genuinely, for the whole day, had butterflies in my stomach, because in the previous game against Olympiacos, we won comfortably away from home, and then you've got your home leg where you're expecting to win that. The Benfica game, second leg, I still thought Benfica weren't very good and we'd do them. Tonight is the first night, when you look at the stats, when you look at some of the injuries that we've had, when you think about what team he could pick, when you think about our form, it's the first time where I'm like, we could win this game, but equally lose it, and it's all done.
Absolutely. But James, isn't that a good thing that we've all got butterflies and we're all worried and we're all on edge? And isn't that what being a football fan's all about? I've kind of missed that, I think, supporting Arsenal this year. I've kind of missed oh, Jesus. You know, the last time I felt like that, I think, was the FA Cup final. And that, you know, that was a long time ago. Is tonight... I mean, even watching it last week, I wasn't really overexcited, but tonight I'm excited. But then with that excitement comes the doom and gloom of, oh my God, if we lose and what's going to happen, and you know, the meltdown that's going to come after that if we get knocked out. But then obviously, if we win, the joy there's going to be, there's going to be a bit of joy, and everyone might, they might, just for a week or so, there might be a bit of there might be some happy Arsenal fans, even if it's just for a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we're talking in these terms for a game against Slavia Prague. You never have thought that.
It is, isn't it? It is. I mean,
it's mental. Yeah. But to be fair, no, I think it's good that, we're all feeling this way. We're all nervous. We're all excited. But like I said before, there's so much riding on this game. With that comes the potential for so much to go wrong. I mean, this could go one of two ways. I really hope. I mean, in these moments where the pressure's on and, we're really under the cosh, that's when Arsenal tend to turn up. I mean, I'm looking all the way back to when we were 2-0 down in the cup final as a whole, and we brought it back to 3-2. And other games, when we were so close to going out in the Champions League group stages, then we went to Olympiacos and won 3-0. Joel Campbell, Olivier Giroud, having the games of their lives. When the pressure's on, we tend to turn up. The only time I can remember that we haven't turned up when the pressure's been on is that Europa League final against Chelsea, where we looked like how we have done in a lot of games this season. We've just not turned up. We've been really flat. But tonight, I really hope, this team shows a lot of character, which I don't think we particularly showed last week. And I think Arteta, as much criticism as he gets, I think he's the right man to motivate this group of players for this particular game. I'm confident, but yeah, I'm exceedingly nervous as well. I won't lie to you.
James, how important is it that you get, it sounds like a bit of a stupid question, but it probably is a bit of a stupid question, but how important is it tonight that he picks the right team? It's like every week there seems to be a change. Every week there's a different player in a different position. Like for you, for me, if someone's asking me the question, the same team that started at Sheffield United should start tonight. Yeah. What about you? Do you bring back Aubameyang? Do you go with the team that won against Sheffield United?
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because you look at the injuries we've got and the number of different combinations that we can play, especially higher up the pitch. You're just thinking, who's right at the minute? Who plays at left back? I still can't fathom at all who's meant to play at left back, whether it's Cedric or Xhaka. I look at either of them and I think I'm not a fan of either. I wish there was some sort of alternate solution to that, whether it be playing Saka at left back, which I don't think any of us are particularly inclined to do. But if you want a more natural left footer, he's the only sturdy option there. But then he's not got the defensive attributes of, someone like Cedric, for example. So that's a position that really worries me. And then the midfield, I think the midfield two picks itself, Xhaka and Partey. But then moving up the pitch, we've got Smith Rowe back in the team. I don't know if Odegaard's back for this one, but we've got him as well. I really like the front three that played behind Lacazette at Sheffield United. I really liked what Pepe did. I think he's that one player that can create something out of nothing, albeit he can be very frustrating at times. Saka was brilliant in that free role, I thought, and Martinelli just worked tirelessly on that left-hand side, which, when we're not particularly strong on the left at the minute, is something we really, really need. And then Lacazette got himself 2 goals. Missed a sitter last week, but now he's got that confidence to take him out of the team. I don't think that would send the right message. So no, that front four, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd bring Jack back into the midfield. I'd probably play Cedric at left back. And I would be inclined to keep Mari in the side, to be honest. I thought he was very solid against Sheffield United, albeit not tested. But Mari and Holding seems to be a lot more of a sturdy partnership than Holding and Gabriel. So I'd have no real discrepancies with them two. And then I suppose it's Bellerin at right back. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a really, really tough one to take.
It is tough one because, he's got to get it so right. Just before we carry on, there's a good evening to everyone who is coming in. I can see people coming in and saying good evening. Good evening to you too. Just before we go on, I'm doing a bit of painting in the house, and I was just wondering if I could get everyone's opinion on this colour. Does anyone like that, or
it looks a little salty.
It looks a little salty, yeah. I thought that myself.
Is it easy wipe?
I don't know. I'll have to try a little tester on it somewhere. I'm not too sure on it. Dan, we some reports today. I know you like to have a little kip during the day, and I don't know if you've seen it, but reports today have seen that David Luiz might not be offered a new contract. Is that a good news or a bad news for you, or does that mean that Arteta? Do you think Arteta's made his mind up on Saliba?
Well, there's a few things you've got to take into consideration. The fact that we're strongest player positional wise at centre back. We've got Mavropanos coming back from Stuttgart, who's been brilliant there. We've got Saliba coming back from Nice, who has been world class there. I mean, when I could be bothered to do the loan reports, sometimes he was having 80, 90 completed passes from centre back. Him and his centre back partnership, they were regularly getting 200 completed passes from centre back. I don't think our entire team manages that at times, and so hopefully that shines. It's a sign that those two are going to be coming back and going to be well. I think our Josh says that Mavropanos will be sold. He's just put him there to make him look good and get rid of him. And then we've got some really good ones at the club at the moment. But then I think if Luiz does stay, maybe for an extra year, then he can't be on the big money that he's probably already on. I just like Luiz. I think he's one of those older positive influences. He's not like Ozil or Aubameyang, a world-class player who is grumpy and miserable, going to cause trouble. He'll be the first one to get his pants off, swinging around his head, doing a little dance after the game. It's getting everyone excited and having a good time. And look at his career for Portugal. I think it's Benfica, then Chelsea, then PSG, then Chelsea, then us. Played for loads of games for Brazil. But he's like a modern-day Per Mertesacker. If he's happy to do that role that Per Mertesacker did in the last couple of seasons, and he only wants 40, 50 grand a week, I say, only bless him, how will he cope? Then I'd keep him. I think he's a positive influence at the club.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But also, Chris, I come to you on that situation. I like David Luiz because he can bring the ball out of defence. He can play football from defence. But then what I've seen of William Saliba is that he can also do that as well, and he's very good at it. And it's a direct upgrade and a direct swap for me. So I think, looking between the jigs and the reels and between the lines, I think that it's going to be a straight swap.
Yeah, I'd take that. Do you know what? All day long, I'd take that. My old mate Giles, Grammandi tweets on Twitter. He's been watching quite a lot of him, and he says that the one thing about Saliba that he needs to improve on, I think, is his aerial ability. But do you know what? I've not got a problem with that because you don't face in the Premier League, and most of our games, we're not facing teams these days that are just pumping balls into the box. You either get low block teams or you get teams that try and go around you. There's a lot of nuance to modern day football, and it isn't just the Bolton or Stoke style, less up and at and pump balls into the box for a big target man. You get that occasionally, but I think modern day Premier League football is suited to someone like Saliba. On the David Luiz thing, I'm kind of with you in terms of as a almost like a elder statesman type thing, but in my opinion, that's never going to happen in a million years. And the reason why is because, and this is Dan kind of alluded to this, like, oh, how's he going to survive if he was on 50 grand a week? But for these footballers, they're all so rich that money, the actual money side of it, doesn't matter to them. But what their weekly wage does, it's almost like a trophy. It's almost like something to be able to demonstrate to the rest of the squad. Look at me, I'm top dog. So that's why, I heard someone, it was an ex-pro, I can't remember which one, it was about 5-6 years ago, and they were talking about going on to England duty, and basically they all talk about, well, who's on this and who's on that. They almost use it as a comparator for their own ability. I mean, these human beings are another world apart from us when they're doing things like that. But that's why I personally can't see David Luiz saying, yeah, I'll take a bit part role on 30, 40, 50 grand a week. Having said that, if Benfica, his love come calling, then they're not going to pay him 200 grand a week. So I don't know. Maybe the thing is big fish, small pond, isn't it? Because if Benfica say we'll pay you 70 grand a week, and by the way, that's 10 grand more than anyone else is earning, he becomes that big fish, and the money isn't an issue, but he's the top dog. So that's my kind of gut feel when it comes to Saliba and Luiz.
James, what about you, mate? How would you take the news? Well, like I said, it's not set in stone. It's just rumours that we read online that David Luiz might not be offered a new contract, and that would open the door for a return for Saliba. I mean, Arteta's not stupid. I think that people were saying, why didn't he keep him here, and this and that. But the way I look at it is, I think that it's the best thing that Arteta could have done, because when he was here, he was obviously having some personal problems. Obviously, his mother passed away. He wasn't in the right mindset. Arteta sent him back to France. He wanted to be closer to home, so Arteta sent him back to France. He's gone over there, and he's back to playing football. And it looks like he's back to playing his best football. He's back right. He's back in the right mindset. He's back fit. He's raring to go. So in my eyes, it was a good thing that Arteta sent him back. Now it looks like he's going to come back to Arsenal, and like I said, raring to go. So it was a good thing, in my opinion. A lot of people are saying, why did he send him back when we've got David Luiz, and this, that, and the other. I get that as well, but you've got to look at the way that Saliba was. So I think it was I think it was a good thing that he went back. He went back to France. But does Saliba, for you, does he come straight back in and take David Luiz's place?
I think that video of, do you remember when we first announced Saliba? And there was that video with Ralstonelli dancing in the background. Everyone was so hyped. I think that's probably gotten people a little bit too excited about what William Saliba can bring to the team. Don't get me wrong, I think he's going to be possibly, the next Rafael Varane. I think he could be a world-class talent. I'm certain he will be. But I think at the start of this season, when people were jumping into the assumption that we were going to be playing Saliba and Gabriel week in, week out at 19 and the 22-year-old centre-half. Come on, be real. It's just not happening. Not in the Premier League. It's going to take a couple of years for that partnership to develop. And I think next season, he'll be 20 years old. By no means maybe in prime state to come into the Premier League and be a week in, week out centre-half. But I think that's all the more reason why we should keep David Luiz, because Luiz with Saliba, I mean, we spoke about them being both progressive central defenders. You've got the old and the new. Luiz, we all know how good he is with young players and how professional he is. The way he come out when he's made mistakes, he's been vocal. It seems like a great morale player to have in the team. And I don't think we should be paying players for the sake of their morale, but to have him, a character like that, around someone like Saliba, who is at the start of his career, I think that's going to be really, really beneficial. And not only that, but Luiz is a good centre-half. And I think that's really important, especially when we're looking at our other options. We've got Rob Holding, who's divides opinion, and we've got Alan Chambers. No one really knows where his future lies, whether it's a right back, whether he's going to be moved on. I wouldn't be too disgruntled if we get Chambers and William Saliba. But for me, I'd much rather keep Luiz Chambers, who could play in several different positions. and David Luiz. I think that'd be absolutely perfect. And then move on Rob Holding and possibly Mavropanos. I mean, there's so many options we've got there. For me, Luiz wouldn't be a player that I'd be looking to get rid of. Even at 34, I think he can bring so much to this team. He's still quality, has never had any fitness issues apart from the current in time. And he's a leader, and we really need him in this team, especially with so many young players coming through. So for me, it's a no-brainer that he should stay on.
Yeah, I think he gets an over the top raw deal, David Luiz. I do. I think he's a natural leader, and we've already heard so many of the young players come out in the press and say what a big influence he is on them, and how he guides them and looks after them, and he's there for them. And I think you need players like that, and especially in this Arsenal team, if Arteta is going for youth, well, not going for youth, but bringing in a lot more youth players, then we need players like that around. And Lacazette's another one. Coming on to that later on, Lacazette would be another one that I would be looking to stay around for another year if possible. And I'll give you the reasons for that later. But Chris, you bring up another good point there in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I haven't had a meltdown.
No. I haven't had time to.
Down at you lot.
I haven't had time to Google it though. Dan, did you?
What's that?
No, obviously
the contract length.
Yeah,
I'll have a look.
He'll have a look, but he makes a good point. And the good point is that if he does come back and he has a bloody storming season, how long has he got left on his contract? Because you know what's going to happen, don't you? He'll come back and have a bloody storming season, and then bloody Barcelona or Real Madrid will come in for him, and we'll lose him.
This is my worry, which is almost why, whilst Dan's Googling it, I'll let him cut over me in a second. But the things that pop into my head, just on what you guys were saying there. So number one, what we've just talked about. If we signed into a 5-year deal and then he spent this season on loan, that's down to year 4, I guess, at the end of this season. If he then takes a year to establish himself, or if he actually has an absolute stormer, I mean, he's still got 3 years left, then we're okay. But if we didn't sign him to that, if we signed into a 5-year deal, and then he went on loan for a year to Saint Etienne, and then he spent this year, not at Arsenal, he's down to 3 years. He then has a stormer. That's 2 years. So that's my worry.
2 years.
My second thing on David Luiz, he ain't going to get better at 34. His mistakes are only going to get more as he loses pace. We need to get away from these people that are good in the dressing room. Lucas Podolski was great in the dressing room. He was a great load of fun, but that didn't improve us on the football pitch. Emmanuel Aboué was a barrel of laughs, but I tell you what, not many of us wanted him to be sticking around towards the end of his time, because as much as he was a lovely bloke and he was a jester, we don't want jesters at Arsenal. We want winners. I want absolute, excuse my language, bastards. I want bastards like Jens Lehmann, chucking, and Tony Adams, chucking people up against the wall. I don't want to go all like Yadar on this particular podcast, but I want that type of leader. And by the sounds of it, from what Saliba is doing at Nice, he's that leader. He's that person in the dressing room. And let's also, just as my final point, and then I will stop talking because Dan, world kettle champion, needs to jump in and talk to us about Saliba's contract length. Cesc Fabregas was captain at 20. He was a leader. He was a leader with his feet. He wasn't. He became a bit of a leader with his mouth, but he was predominantly a leader with his feet. Patrick Vieira was captain at a young age. He was a leader with his feet and then became a leader with his mouth. So my view is that we should move on from David Luiz. We should put our eggs in the Saliba basket. So I'm a big fan, and I'm also a fan of Chambers. So I would give Chambers a shout. It just frees up a bit more space.
Yeah, I can hear where you're coming from there. I do hear where you're coming from. But I'm not talking about having players in the dressing room or players around for their jester abilities. I'm talking for having them around for their what's the word I'm looking for? I'm all for it. Yeah, experience and arm around abilities. If that makes any sense. Like we've got like Saliba and Mavropanos coming back. Wouldn't it be great to have a player like Luiz around for them to go to? For them to does that, we've got Balogun coming in signing a new contract. Wouldn't it be great for Lacazette to still be around for them to learn from? Does that, or am I again being too sentimental?
Well, every club needs that, don't they? They need some experience in certain departments, because we've heard over the years, like when Seaman was there, he was a great help to all the younger goalkeepers, and Bergkamp stayed there to the end of his career. And then you had Tony Adams staying to the end of his career, Dicko stayed to the end of his career, and all these other players. They had such a great influence. And even when they come back to the club, when people say like Perez or Lundberg come back to the club, or I think did Wrighty come back and do some shooting training? I'm not sure, but the people just love it. I mean, just having those people around you is just gonna help so much. In that just those, if they can just give you a tiny little bit of an idea, if you want some advice or anything like that, then that's really going to help. In not just in football, but in any situation, even in life. If you've got any issues, you'll maybe go and see your granddad or your uncle or someone older and wiser who's been there and done it. So having people around like that can be invaluable.
Mm. Did you get the information on his contract then?
Yeah, transfer market says 30th of June 2024. So it looks like we signed him on that would make a 6-year deal, wouldn't it?
6-year deal, wouldn't it? Yeah, 2019.
That would make sense though, given the 1-year loan. I think, because if you want to do a 5-year loan,
because we
loaned
him back, didn't we? Bought him and loaned him back straight away. Then he came back, and then he's gone to Nice on loan.
Yeah, seemingly.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a 6-year deal.
Yeah. That seems like a good idea.
That'd be five, wouldn't it?
5-year deal, 2019.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. It's not very good.
1 and 3.
Yeah, it was never my strong point, James. Math.
No, me neither, mate. Me neither.
No, it was never my strong point. Here is a good question. From Rocky. Thank you very much, Rocky. Thanks for watching, mate. Thanks for the question. A question. Is a player too young or too old, or is it about how good they are? Chris, come to you on that one first.
Well, if they're 78, then I reckon they're probably too old.
But what if he's good enough?
If he's good enough at 78, they're playing to him. I'm 38, and I have trouble getting up and down stairs at times with my Achilles. So if you're 78 years old and you're able to make it on a Premier League stage and international stage, then I doff my cap to thee.
Lee Judge is still plays.
Plays. I saw those stills. Sorry, Lee. Sorry. So my view is, and I'm absolutely with you on this, because, as I said earlier, I cited the Cesc. Cesc was able to play when he was like 17. Tony Adams was captain when he was, 19, 20? I'm sure Dan, Mr. Statman, would probably confirm that one for me. But Tony Adams was playing at a young age. If they're old, if they're young enough, they're good enough. And I don't buy Arteta's recent comment about we can't have. He said, I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure he said something about we can't have too many of them in the team. My view is that you had too many of them that were the senior pros in their late 20s, early 30s in the November-December period, and none of those delivered. Yeah. So, how much worse could it be if they've got the talent? Play them. You don't have to play them consistently, but you do have to play them. And I think, Craig, you and I share similar frustration, but also excitement over the likes of Martinelli. He's got to start playing now. Yeah. Because we've got to see if next season we've got ourselves a player to really invest in. Like, we've already emotionally invested in him quite a lot because of his performances last season. He spent a lot of this season injured. I feel like, and this is the same with the Balogun contract as well, I just feel like we need to just take a punt. And someone said to me on Twitter earlier on, they were like, "Oh, what do you do with Balogun?" I'm like, "Well, you play him." And what happens if he doesn't make it? And then I say, well, if he doesn't make it, then you say, send him out on loan in January and you buy another player. And what you've done in the meantime is you sell the likes of Lacazette and you make 20-odd million quid. And you say to yourself, I'm going to invest that in Balogun. And if that doesn't work, then in January we go again. We have a look at another striker. That's my view.
Someone said to me, I mean, like, I'm of the ilk, like, I like to see young players coming through, and I'm excited about Balogun already. A lot of people like to tell me that I have never seen anything of him. What do I know? When I like to watch the under-23s on YouTube highlights, so I've seen quite a few of Balogun's goals and what he's done, and he's a very he's a tall, strong lad. He's a traditional striker. He likes to play with his back to goal. He likes to bring the midfield into play. He's not one of these strikers that just puts his head down and runs in straight lines. He likes to get involved. So I'm very excited to see him signing a new contract, and I want to see him play next year. And a fella said to me on Twitter, "Oh, this is another Nicholas Anelka situation." So I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And he said, "Well, he's got the wrong attitude, this, that, and the other." I said, "Well, if he's got the wrong attitude, then we'll just sell him." So it's win-win, isn't it? What do you mean by that? Yeah, what do you mean? Getting training. He said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, he's tied down to a 5-year deal. We'll get money for him. So what's the problem? We'll get cash and we'll invest it somewhere else." But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's obviously, as much as people don't like Arteta, there's something going on behind the scenes for a young player to commit 5 years of his career to Arsenal. James, are you excited about the signing of Balogun, that he's actually, because it looked like we were going to lose him? He's turned down a host of clubs. He's turned down by Leverkusen. He's turned down Red Bull Leipzig. He's turned, to stay with us. He was probably guaranteed first team football at those clubs, but he's decided to stay with us. And he is a player that I'm getting excited. I'm excited about. I don't care what anyone says. I'm excited to see him come and play in the first team.
Yeah, I mean, it's good news, isn't it? I was so resigned to the fact that he was going to be leading Arsenal that I'd completely forgotten about the whole situation, to be honest with you, because I just thought it was done, dusted, he'd leave at the end of the season. So when it broke last week that he's actually committing his future to Arsenal, it's a big excitement. I don't want to say it's a huge relief or anything, because he's not the answer to all our prayers. Let's be honest for a second. Like, we don't know if he's going to come in and bag 10, 15, 20 goals a season, but he's a prospect that has the potential to do that. And what I really like about him is, I'm not going to pretend that I've watched him week in, week out, and I know I analyse the under-23s because I don't. But what I really like about him physically is that he's a big presence. He looks physically intimidating. He looks incredibly strong, got unbelievable finish on him, can head the ball. As I say, got a brilliant finish on him. And we haven't really had anyone like that since we got Giroud. Lacazette's not that player. Aubameyang definitely isn't that player. And as much stick as we gave Giroud, he was a presence. He was a real presence in the box. And Balogun could be the answer to that problem where, we're putting 100 balls into the box and no one's getting on the end of them. And even Martinelli as well. Martinelli, even though he doesn't look physically intimidating, the way he heads the ball, like if you remember in his first season, some of those goals he got. Oh,
that one in the Europa League, that header from that header. Oh, what a header.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, him and Balogun in the box. Hopefully Martinelli moves into more of a central role, but it is really exciting to have two players like that. Looking at the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette coming up to the wrong side of 30 now, you'd think, there are going to be opportunities for Balogun, for Martinelli. Looks today that he might be off in the summer to somewhere like West Ham. I think Arteta has shown him a clear roadmap into the first team, and that's what's made him commit his future to Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, anything to add on Balogun? You like to see him play some first team football? Well, I hope he's going to play some first team football next year.
I just hope that he gets. Last night I spent 2 hours doing his entire career at Arsenal, a breakdown from his under 18 debut all the way up to now. 94 games, 62 goals, 15 assists. And now he's 5'10", and he's not 20 until the summer. And that lad is going to be growing. Wikipedia says 1.78 m. I checked a couple of other places that said 179, 180. So he's still growing. At the moment, he's 5'10", the same as Martinelli. But like James was saying, he's got pace, he's got technique, he's good in the air, he's got pace, he's got skills, he seems to be the all-round striker, like you like. James was saying, keep going to call you Cookie. That's terrible. That he's got a touch of the Giroud's about him. He's only going to get bigger. He's got a decent record for. He's played for the USA under 18s. Didn't really do much. I think he got 2 in 4. He's played for us at 3 different levels. It's just an exciting player to have come through because he believes his own hype. And some of the time, you look at Eddie. He doesn't look overly confident, and you see when you see Pepe tonight, he'll start off the game like this, and as things go wrong, he'll be walking around with his head down like that. I don't think Balogun's that type of player, but we've got to not get on his case. And I think maybe I'd like to see him play a few games because the league is over for us. Get a few games in the league this season, see what he can do, and then work out next season where he's going to go on loan. Whether it's going to be a bottom half Premier League team or top half Championship team, because no one can come in and do what he's done. It's okay at different levels to come in and play those games when you're younger. But Chris was saying, when was Tony Adams captain? He was 21 and a half when he was made captain, March 1988.
There you go. Chris, Balogun.
I knew he'd give us a number. Yeah. Do you know what? With Balogun, the reason I'm quite excited is, so we've all seen the high-profile stuff in the Europa League where he scored goals or he got assists, but there's little moments in those games that have excited me. So he's got pace, but his physicality as well, but also his reading of the game. I can't remember which group stage game it was. We were pretty much through by then because we smashed it, but he came on and there were 2 or 3 instances where you watch his movement and his running and he's pointing. Like, there was one moment I distinctly remember, the ball was like left-hand side, sort of mid-channel in our own half, and Balogun's off the last man, but he's pointing. He's like, "You play that ball literally in front of me there. Just I'll get in." And he was pointing in between the right back and the right centre half. He's got the ability, and he's got the knowledge to make that run. And at that early age, that's the sort of stuff. That's why Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is elite, and that's why even tonight people are saying, should he start? Shouldn't he start? If he's fit, if he's got over the flu, then he should, for me, absolutely start, because footballers are intelligent in their head. Those types of footballers that are intelligent in their head, that gets them that extra yard, and he finds pockets of space. And I feel like Balogun, just through watching those couple of games, I saw he's not the finished article. He will make mistakes. There will be times where, if he was playing in the Premier League, if we gave him 5 or 6 games, it will blaze one over from the penalty spot. I turned German all of a sudden. Excuse me, that's the rum. But I see the movement and I see him and his football brain working, and that's what excites me.
Absolutely, absolutely indeed. I've got a good question coming here from Alexander. I've been waiting to ask this one before we go back onto tonight. How does Dortmund find Bellingham before any other English side, or before any English side does? James, he's quite a find, isn't he? I think he was at Birmingham. How the hell have Borussia Dortmund found him at Birmingham?
Yeah, it's a crazy one, isn't it? And you'd think there'd be so many Premier League clubs all over him, because it wasn't like he's kind of gradually made his way into the Birmingham side. He started playing at 16 and played every single game, I think, in their league season. So he was there right at the forefront of, football, pretty much. So many clubs have gone in for him. Yeah. Whether it's a case of it's Birmingham and not a lot of clubs are looking at teams like that at the minute,
true.
I'm not too sure. But, whoever scouted him from Dortmund does an unbelievable job, because watching him in that game last night, and just watching whenever, for a 17-year-old, and I know people go on about his age all the time, but he is impeccable. Like him, Foden, future of England just looks unbelievable. Looks so good.
Going totally off the Arsenal subject last night, but that Phil Foden, honestly, I mean, on Twitter last night when I'm watching the game, I'm scrolling through Twitter and I'm thinking, everyone's going, "Oh, Saka is better, Saka's better." Why do we have to compare? Just appreciate that they're good.
And they're two different players as well.
Yeah, Saka's better than Bellingham. Saka's better than Foden. Retweet or like if you think Saka's better than Foden. Let's settle this debate once and for all. Just appreciate it. Do you know? Just appreciate that Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham are fantastic England players or English players. All right, I'm jealous that one plays for Borussia Dortmund and I'm jealous that Manchester City have got them. But can't we just appreciate them as players?
We got
anyone? We've got Saka. Yeah, I've got Saka. We've got Saka. We've got Smith Rowe. We've got Odegaard. We've got Martinelli. We've got Balogun. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy we've got those players. But I see other fans appreciate Saka and appreciate Smith Rowe. They're not doing silly polls on Twitter. Do you know? Let's settle this. Why? I just don't get football fans. So I've always got to be comparing. to what we've got to what they've got.
I was looking last night at trying to find out the under-16 England stats for Balogun, and there aren't any. And when I was looking through those games, I was checking Jude's Twitter wiki. Jude Bellingham played for the Birmingham under-18s at 14, the under-23s at 15, and he was in the same under-16 England squads: Smith Rowe, Saka, and Aziz. And Miguel, is it Miguel Aziz? I think it is. Yeah, and so there was a handful of decent Arsenal young players, and they all played together. And so people must have known he was around. I knew about Bellingham a couple of years ago because he was so young. And I was always led to believe that Birmingham have made it clear he's not leaving. He's not going anywhere, which may have put some people off. But I think he's moved to Dortmund's fantastic because they've got I think they've got a young African kid playing up front who's 15, 16, and he's been scoring goals as well. And you've got the young American kid, Claudio Reyna's son. He's 16 or 17 and he's scoring goals and doing well. There's so many magnificent young players they got there. And then they got Haaland as well, who's 21, 22, and he'll be going for 150 million in the summer. Stunning.
And they've also got Jordan Sancho, not forget. So, I mean, Jordan Sancho for Manchester City as well. I mean, how did Manchester City let him go? It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
A Serge Gnabry thing.
Was it?
Go.
Can I just jump in on 1 second? Let me just read you a quote. This is going to depress you based on the comment here. This is Tony Adams. I think it got lost. He's talking about Jude Bellingham. I think it got lost, this one, in the transition of chief scout Steve Morrow at Arsenal going out. Adams said back in November, speaking to Sky Sports, he was spotted very early on, not by me, by the Arsenal recruitment office. The chief scout was absolutely bowled over by him, and what a great prospect he is. He had more or less done the deal, but at that moment, the new sporting director, Edu, came in from Brazil and had no European experience and no UK experience. I think it got lost in transition. Edu didn't know anything about this player.
Who are you talking about?
Tony Adams said that.
Who are you talking about?
Jude Bellingham.
Tony Adams quotes.
I'm sorry, Craig.
That's going down with Maradona, isn't it?
Yeah, let me just distract you by saying I love the T-shirt that you've got on in the background. That yellow Arsenal shirt is a favourite of mine. I have a Sabutio set of that. Yeah,
you just got that, didn't you?
Just got that.
Is it replica or is it original?
Replica.
Very nice.
It's an original. It's still got Anders Limpar's sweat on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I right in saying we first wore that strip in the Charity Shield against Manchester United? Ian Wright stuck one. Ian Wright stuck one in. A nice goal against Peter Schmeichel, I believe.
Chris is the one that knows that is an expert on all the kits.
Lost on penalties, I think. That particular game. Yeah, I'm getting quite a nice little collection behind me there, actually. What I've been doing is I've been saying, I feel a bit bad, actually, because what I've been saying to my mates is if your kids have got any old shirts that they don't wear anymore, I'll have them because I'll use them for decorational purposes. And one of them actually gave me one that... I did try it on actually for a laugh. Yeah, just to get me head in it, because as you know, at the start of the show, I've got an 8 head, so I can just about get it in. But back to tonight. I've got big butterflies now. Obviously, talking about it and.
She's smashing though.
Party Assassin says that the line out is out. I just tried to look for it. I can't find it. So I'll take his word for it.
That's good.
It's here. I've got it here on WhatsApp. Nigel, trusty Nigel.
If that's the line out,
Leno in goal. Yeah, it is. So Party Assassin, thank you very much. And thank you, Nigel, for sending that to me on WhatsApp. Leno in goal. Chambers holding Mary. Xhaka left back. Wow.
That's
Party
telling about Bellerin, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Party Ceballos.
See, that's good.
Well.
That frees Ceballos to go and do the midfield stuff. He doesn't have to do any defending or playing it out of defence. Party will do all that lot.
Saka Smith Rowe. Pepe, Lacazette. I like that. I do like that.
Go out and get goals. They won't outscore us.
Chris is not so happy. He's.
Can I? Yeah. I just writing it down. So I sort of like it, but I'm now scared. And the reason I'm scared is because I don't know who Slavia are playing right wing, but if they've got anyone with any pace, the man with the turning circle of that ship from
the Evergreen,
the Evergreen, they might have a field day. That's the only worry that I have. I tell you what, I like what he's done with the front four though. Smith Rowe left, Saka middle, Pepe right, Lacazette up top. Aubameyang obviously not fit
as well.
Aubameyang obviously not fit.
Sorry,
Aubameyang
not fit.
Aubameyang is not even on the bench.
He must just not be
Balogun.
Balogun is on the bench.
He's back on.
Yeah, Balogun is on the bench along with Martinelli. Aziz is on the bench.
They're going to be shitting their pants when they see our forward line and what's on the bench. They're going to be going in.
It's a nice bench too. Yeah, it's a good bench.
Yeah,
I'll put my glasses on tonight. I still can't bloody see. Bellerin, Cedric, Gabriel, El Neni, Aziz, Nelson, Willian, Martinelli, Nikita, and Balogun. No Aubameyang again. Does anyone believe that he's got the flu?
I mean, Xhaka had it, so
did he?
Well, I don't know. I'll speculate.
Yeah. James, the lineup. Happy with that, or?
Yeah, I think I was going to be apprehensive, whatever it was, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was always going to add that. But I mean, it's virtually identical to the one that played at the weekend, apart from Smith Rowe coming in for Martinelli, which is a bit harsh on Martinelli. But I think if you want that more creative output, and you see the link that Smith Rowe, Saka, and Lacazette have got, that's really actually fantastic. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. You've got Pepe, who's been informed, can create something out of nothing. Huge game for him. Huge game for him. Hopefully he's worth every penny of that 72 million. Ceballos, who was fantastic, stays in, but we know that he can be, so hot and cold.
So frustrating. Yeah.
Be keeping my eye on him. And yeah, I just think the right back situation is really interesting. But I don't think anyone would have thought Callum James would be starting this game at right back in a million years. Like if you'd have told me 4 or 5 months ago that he'd be starting,
certainly spells the end for Bellerin, doesn't it? I mean, you can't see Bellerin at Arsenal next year, surely.
But does it also say, how good Callum James has been? That he's starting.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, God, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, ahead of Cedric, who we a lot of us were raving about not too long ago. I wouldn't have complained if Cedric was starting a right back tonight, but Callum Chambers has worked his way kind of back from the dead, and he's got ahead of Bellerin. He's got ahead of Cedric. I mean, I've got to take my hat off to him. What a player! He's I've never rated him as a right back, to be honest. I still have nightmares of Jefferson Montero, but he's playing phenomenally there. He's got a lot more pace than he did. He's looking really good. Yeah, he's. I think he's got a real future at Arsenal. I really do.
Yeah, Dan. The Aubameyang thing, obviously, he's not well, apparently. Lacazette comes in, but to be honest with you, if Aubameyang was fit, he would have probably gone over onto the left. I would have had Lacazette on through the middle anyway, because I think tonight you're going to need a player like Lacazette who's going to chase down everything, who's just going to keep running his nuts off. And chasing, but again, like James says, it's important to have your informed players in. He got 2 at the weekend. He's going to be busting the gut to get back out there and try and score some goals. Another point is he might know that his time might be up. He might be trying to impress to get another extension. So, what's your thoughts on that lineup? And does that bring any bit of confidence?
It does. Our defenders are there to defend. No one's getting past that back four. They're going to be solid. They're going to be playing a very solid defensive line, because the good thing about Chambers, you tell him to defend and he's going to stay back and defend. He's not going to do a Bellerin, run off up the pitch and then go, I can't run back now. Not playing Cedric at left back is because he wants to go defensive with Xhaka, and Xhaka never goes beyond the halfway line anyway, so he'll be glad with that. And then the other really important thing. Okay. And then The other really important thing is that Ceballos is now going to do the running for Lacazette, so Lacazette can just concentrate on being the striker, because we've seen so many times this season where Lacazette has had to drop down, like I always say, like Sanchez used to do, drop down into the defence to get the ball, to bring the ball all the way up midfield. And Lacazette isn't going to have to do that, is he? Because he's going to have Ceballos behind him doing all the running, giving him the ball, so he can concentrate on scoring goals. What a fantastic lineup! If people are not were looking at this, I think Craig's daughter's just come in, so he's just gone out to go off and deal with her. So we're just talking amongst ourselves until then.
We'll talk amongst ourselves.
Well, I mean, we've got two hosts here, haven't we? So it shouldn't be too much of a challenge.
I think we were
We can all talk all over each other. It's fine.
Oh God, let's not go there.
Yeah, I'll finish saying, Chris, if you want to say something.
No, do you know, I was only going to just really agree with you. Do you know, I looked at that and I was a bit like, but what you've just said has made me, it's sort of warmed the cockles of my heart.
You're not so scared
that
now.
Back line, no, I'm not so scared, because you're right. Chambers is not what Arteta's basically done with a big part of this season is he's put emphasis on those marauding fullbacks.
Yeah.
But what he said here is the emphasis on attack needs to be on Ceballos, Saka, Pepe, Smith Rowe, and Lacazette. So to me, what he said is we have a defensive unit that stay structured, and we don't want to be caught out on the flanks and through the middle. And then we have an offensive unit that go forward. So actually, in my head, you've just made me feel a little bit better. So thank you, Dan.
The only player, James, that I think is going to be transitioning from defence to attack is going to be Partey. And out of our entire squad, who would you want to do that more than Partey?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be that link man, hasn't he? And I remember we've had a few lineups like this over the years, and we've really missed that link between defence and transitioning into attack. But now we've got him. I can't think of anyone better than him to do it. And I thought he was a bit of a shaky start at Sheffield, but second half, that pass he made for one of the goals, absolutely. No, I mean, I'm full of confidence with that team. And I honestly, I can't emphasise enough just how buzzing I am for Callum Chambers. I think just the way he's got back into the team is unbelievable.
We've all got little smiles on our faces now, which is nice to see. So the only alteration I would see to that is possibly playing Martinelli. And when Pepe will probably have his head starts to drop, I think they'll bring on Martinelli, and then we're going to have Smith Rowe on the left, Saka in the middle, Martinelli on the right, and all three of those can swap round. And then the Slavia players are going to be going, how do we cope with this? Who do we mark? And then even if you want to, you take off Lacazette and bring on Martinelli, and then you don't even have to have a forward. Then you've got four players all running around all over the place. So many things like that. It's it's really going to help.
Do you know what I find fascinating as well is Slavia's approach to today? Because imagine if we were in their position, playing the likes of a Barcelona or something like that, and we got a 1-1 draw away from home at Barcelona, and we were now at home, and it's like, what approach do we actually do to this game? Do we go at them? Do we press high? Or do we try and just sit on it and defend? Because Slavia Prague are a high-pressing, high-intensity team, whereas so if they adopt that approach and we get in behind like we did in the previous tie, that's really sort of it's going to cause a worry for them, I think. Sorry, Craig. We talked amongst ourselves. You all right, mate?
Yeah. I'm going to have to go. My little girl's not very well, so I have to shoot off, which means I have to end the stream, unfortunately. So see you all later. Enjoy the game if you can, and we'll see you again next time we're about. Thank you very much, and up the Arsenal.